Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. We have some new video into our newsroom here that is pretty upsetting to watch. What you're going to be seeing is a violent robbery taking place at a Cleveland pizza shop. This took place at the Broadway Pizza on 5645 Broadway Avenue here in the city of Cleveland. This was at about midnight, just after midnight this morning when this took place. Police are looking for these two men. Aggravated robbery for felonious assault is what they are being accused of. They arrive at the pizza joint. They pretend to be ordering a pizza. And then they assault the woman there that you see, who our Michelle Nix has actually interviewed. You will hear from her tonight on 19 News at 10 and 11. And then they shoot at another person as well. Let's watch the video here. Again, it is incredibly graphic. The only thing I've edited are these swear words that you hear from one of the suspects.
We have enough bacon. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Good.
You ain't got the card?
Yeah. No, I don't. Mine don't. They don't know it, so it don't. Got me gone.
Are you paying for this?
Hey, anybody move, I'm blowing. Don't move. Nobody move. Hey, Olay. Quick move. Don't get that. Don't move. Don't get that. Don't watch her. Watch her. I'm gonna blow her off. I'm gonna blow her. Go. Okay. It's a her. It's a her. She in the back. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna blow her. Where the drawer at? Come this way. Go back that way.
This way.
Where? Come on. Step over. Step over. Step over. Get up. Get up. Put it on the ground. Get up. Move. In this pocket. Move. In this pocket. Move. What's the thing? I don't know. Get it. I get it.
I don't know. I don't work there like that.
You know.
I don't know.
Come get back this way. Let's go.
So toward the end of that video, you could hear yelling. You could hear them saying, "Get up, get up." Following when they walk off camera there, they rob workers. They rob people that are eating there. And then they flee and they run away. Any help? If you notice these people, you need to contact police immediately. Let's look at a separate part of this, a separate angle. And from this separate angle, you can actually see the gunshot that was done by the guy on the left.
Hey, Olay. Quick move. Don't get that. Don't move. Don't get that. Don't watch her. Watch her. Don't blow her off. Don't move. Go. It's a her. It's a her. She in the. Hey, Olay. Quick move. Don't get that. Don't move. Don't get that. Don't watch her. Watch her. Don't blow her off. Don't move. Go. It's a her. It's a her. She in the.
So yeah, pretty intense scene there. As I said, our Michelle Nix actually interviewed the woman that was assaulted here in this video. You're going to hear from her tonight on 19 News at 10 and 11. But let's play this again. Watch the way that they come in. You'll see that there's a point where the guy on the left puts his right hand into his pocket and looks at his accomplice. They make eye contact, and then he immediately grabs the back of her head, slams it against the table, and points the gun right at the gap of her neck, which is horrifying. From there, he shoots at, it seems that people are either running around or doing something. He shoots at one of them, and then they start to attack them. So there are two victims in total. Both were bleeding profusely when officers arrived. Unsure about their status right now, but aggravated robbery, felonious assault, that's what they are suspects in this case. Here's where the robbery takes place.
Anybody move, I'm blowing. Don't move. Hey, Olay. Quick move. Don't get that. Don't move. Don't get that. Don't watch her. Watch her. Don't blow her off. I'm gonna blow her. Go. It's a her. It's a her. She in the back. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna blow her. Where the drawer at?
Right there, right there.
Come this way. Nope, back that way.
This way.
Where? Come on. Come on. Step over. Let's go. Let's go. Step over. Step over. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get that ground. In this pocket. Move. In this pocket. Move. In this pocket. Move. Move. What's the state?
I don't know.
Get it.
I
Get it. What's the state?
I don't know. I don't
You
work
know.
there like that.
You know.
I don't know.
Come get back this way. This way. Let's go.
Second. All right, so we're going to wrap up our digital stream with this here. We have more breaking news that we're going to be getting to on all of our digital platforms. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great night. Much more to come, both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.
And then a little bit farther off to the west, there's the Rice area. So this is what we're watching closely. Again, that tornado warning is in effect until 7:15. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Oak Harbor and Rocky Ridge, or 13 miles west of Port Clinton, moving southeast at 40 miles per hour. We can go back to the track so we can see exactly where we're expecting impacts from this storm. And again, that's going to be Bay 655, not Bay Village, but Bay to the west. Margaretta 712, Perkins 721, and Norwalk 733. In our immediate coverage area, this is Jake, my producer, asking me a question here. The tornado warning is in effect for Ottawa and Sandusky counties, but there is currently a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Sandusky County, and Sandusky is included in that warning, and that's in effect until 7:30. So we have a ways to go on that one. There's two actually interesting areas in here that we're tracking, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this track. You can see that the warning polygon, again, is mainly just west of our coverage area. But since this is moving in, it's moving in our direction, we just want you to be aware that this is coming in. And again, we apologize for interrupting programming, but that is something that we're going to do if we feel lives and property are at risk. So the tornado warning in effect for Ottawa and Sandusky counties until 7:15. This is going to be moving into our coverage area over the next half hour or so, because Erie County is in our coverage area, and western Erie County is right on that line of where this storm is impacting. So this is going to be impacting not just Port Clinton and Oak Harbor, but eventually the Sandusky area. We'll stay on for a few more moments to make sure that everybody gets the message, then we'll jump off. And if this is reissued for Erie County, of course, we will jump back on. We're going to zoom in one more time.
Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. This day of breaking news continues as we have some intense weather to cover here. A first alert warning here for a first alert weather warning, for a tornado warning to parts of Ohio. This is until 7:30. We have Ottawa and Sandusky counties are under this warning. And they'll send it to Samantha Roberts with the latest.
Here at the southern end of this storm here, and I'll switch over to the reflectivity so we can take another look at this. We're going to look at a couple of different radars here with this tornado warning moving through. That tornado warning for Ottawa and Sandusky counties until 7:30. 15 tonight as the storm moves towards the south and east at about 40 miles per hour. So a couple of interesting areas to note here. Specifically, Erica, I'm seeing between Oak Harbor and Rice, an area of interest. That's what we need to be watching really, really closely there. We do not currently have any reports of a tornado on the ground, but again, this is radar indicated. So the Weather Service is seeing something, and that has prompted them to issue this warning. And again, we're staying with it because this is beginning to move into the western edge of our coverage area. It hasn't been showing any signs of weakening over the last couple of scans. I'm going to switch back over to our velocity product, and I'm not seeing any signs of any weakening really, Erica, over the next or the last couple of scans with this.
No, and I don't know if folks in the back have me on the
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so one of the things that we noticed, especially earlier this afternoon, you know, we have a lot more heat, we have a lot more humidity. We also don't have any storms that have developed out ahead of this. So all of that heat, all of that humidity that we built in throughout the day today, these storms are able to take advantage of. There's been nothing to really stop these storms from strengthening. And as they continue to move into Northeast Ohio, yes, we're running into the end of daylight here coming up soon, but there's still a little bit of time left. I mean, sunset isn't until we get into the later portions of the 8 o'clock, early 9 o'clock hours. So we still have some time for these storms to stay matured and potentially on that strong to severe side. So one of the things that we're going to watch, and keep in mind too, I mean, when this radar, we're using the radar from Cleveland, so it's still scanning well out to the west. So some of this rotation is a little bit elevated. But the reason that the tornado warnings are in place is because that couplet is so strong, or when we say couplet, we're talking about how those winds are in relation to either away or towards that radar. That's how our radar can sample whether or not there is any rotation in there. And that couplet that we see just to the south of the Rice area, I mean, it's still very persistent on radar, as is the one that's north of the Oak Harbor area. So we're going to have to watch both. And you'll see, too, as we pause that motion, how the couplet from the north is coming in down to the south, and we're still seeing that couplet from the south kind of almost get closer. We're going to have to watch and see if that storm merges, because sometimes that can be another tool, too, that can get that quick spin up potentially.
Yeah, she makes a really good point about this being super far away from the Cleveland radar. I mean, we're out in Ottawa and Sandusky counties, so we're pretty far from the radar right now, but we're picking up on two areas really here of rotation, one south of Carroll and then that area around Rice, reporting some definitely large hail reports out from that area. And when this storm moved into Ottawa County, it was producing egg-sized hail. That's pretty substantial for this part of the country. So we want to just stay on this for a few more minutes. I may jump off briefly as this is
did you
new
see
warning. Train spotter. Okay. Erica's reporting, and we have a train spotter reporting large tornado on the ground. This is from Skywarn, Sandusky County, State Route 19. This is from a train spotter. So we are going to go ahead and stay on with this. State Route 19, that would be in Sandusky, Ottawa, Sandusky County line. So this is back to the north, State Route. We'll get just zoomed into this because we want to be sure that we're getting you to the right area here. So Ottawa, Sandusky County line.
Let's go ahead north of Oak Harbor
and zoom in on that one. Here's the Ottawa County, Sandusky County line. There's State Route 19. So Erica, if there's a tornado there, I'm thinking mainly east of Rice at this point, or possibly even north of Rice with that second area of rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had a few more details on exactly where this is happening along State Route 19. Folks, if you know anybody that lives in the Rice area, basically between Rice, Oak Harbor, you need to make sure that you are in your tornado-safe place. That means you're putting as many walls in between you and the outside as possible, grabbing a pillow, grabbing maybe some of the cushioning off of the couch if you need to, and take it to that safe space. Of course, underground is always the best, but we realize not everybody may have that available to them. So please, okay, getting a little bit more details on that. tornado was located near Oak Harbor, or 8 miles to the west of Port Clinton, and this tornado warned storm is moving to the east at about 25 miles per hour. So we'll get a new track up there.
We're going to track on that. This is moving east 25 miles per hour. So almost moving more towards Danbury, Margaretta. We'll put it out to 25 miles per hour. I'm just going to zoom out. But that couplet, Erica, that's really tightening up over the last couple of scans. I really don't like what I'm seeing here, especially with that spotter report of a large tornado on the ground, and probably not easy to see either because this is most likely wrapped in rain. We have a lot of heavy precip reports, so we've gone ahead and we've put a track on this moving east at 25 miles per hour. In the Bay area, and again, that's not Bay Village, this is Bay out closer to Sandusky, 7:01, that's within the next few minutes. Port Clinton, 7:11, Danbury, 7:24, and if this storm holds together, this could be in Sandusky by 7:40. No tornado warning in Sandusky at this time, but they are under a severe thunderstorm warning where a tornado was tagged possible. So we need to stay hyper weather aware. In Sandusky, I'm not going to suggest that you head to the basement yet. I think it's still a little early. Would you agree, Erica? But I would say please pay attention to this. Yeah, keep the volume up. We will let you know if you need to seek shelter. And if you leave that volume up, of course, you'll be able to hear us. We're going to stay on the air. Jason just walked in. As we mentioned, this will be moving into the Bay area, not Bay Village, Bay to the west. Port Clinton, 7:11, and that tornado warning is going to continue for Ottawa and Sandusky counties until 7:15 p.m. In addition to that, did you guys hear, Erica, 2-inch hail possible? That is not something we see very often in this part of the country. That can cause significant property damage, damage to anyone outside, right? This is a dangerous storm, and so we need to be paying close attention to this in Ottawa and Sandusky counties. If you're just joining us in progress, want to stress that we are on because this tornado warned storm is moving into our area. Let's send it over to Jason.
Yeah, Sam, as we've been mentioning here with this storm, it's just outside technically our view, not necessarily our viewing area, but our market. But again, when you talk about storms that come in from the west, that's when we really start to say, hey, we've got to be on top of this even before it does necessarily officially enter our warning area. And you can see what's going on right now. What is all this gray, you wonder? That basically is a way that First Alert Doppler is detecting where there is hail potentially. And we've been talking about this all afternoon, all evening long. Large hail. So let's zoom right in again. We're on the air right now until 7:15 for Ottawa and Sandusky. But I'll tell you what, the signature with this particular tornado warning does indicate that this could be something that may be reissued again as it continues to slide off towards the south and east. Catawba Island getting heavy rain, potential little hail. Boy, you know, Erica Page, meteorologist Erica Page, she was out in Port Clinton today waiting for this storm to come. She was just a couple of hours early. She was in the right spot and certainly wouldn't want to be there now. If she was there now, she'd be taking shelter. So again, just a quick recap here, a little bit after 7 o'clock. Ottawa and Sandusky counties, if you're in the path of this storm, now's the time to turn up the audio here on the app or here on television and get to your safe spot. Get down to the lowest floor of your home. Put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. Cover your head. Get away from windows. I know nowadays folks love using their phones to take pictures and video and say, look at the weather we have. When you have something like this, not only with the potential for a tornado, but when you also have this much hail out of this storm as well, that also creates a dangerous situation to even think about being out and about. Is there a way, Sam, we could take a look at our velocity product here? That allows us to look inside the storm, and really it's what the Weather Service uses when they issue these warnings. So what we want to look at here, this is our Cleveland radar shooting off to the west. When you see the red, that means that winds are moving away from the radar. When you see those bright blues or greens, winds are moving towards the radar. So is this a classic tight circulation? Probably not, but we certainly have enough rotation, and based on spotter reports, that there is potential of a tornado here. And again, this is still off to our west. There's Cedar Point here, off to the west of Cedar Point. There is Sandusky off to the west of Sandusky. This is in the Port Clinton, Oak Harbor area right now, as we've been talking about. If you're at all between those two towns, there's 163, there's 58. That's where the storm is at its worst, and that's where we're seeing that rotation and the potential for that very large hail as well. This storm basically formed while we were on the air during 5 and 6 o'clock south of Detroit. We had one tornado warning just north of it. This was the one to the south of it, and it has been blowing through from the north and west. Sam, let's talk briefly here. Normally when tornado warnings are issued, they're issued based on Doppler radar indicated. This one actually has a little bit of confirmation on that. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't like that report from Skywarn reporting Ottawa Sandusky County line, State Route 19, trained spotter saying there's a tornado on the ground.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the heavy rain threat. So this must be something that's incredibly visible if he's even able to see that with all the rain.
And the haze, too.
Yeah, haze, rain, if there's any hail, you know, this is a really strong storm. So something we're watching closely as that moves east.
That's Sandusky Bay right there. There's Cedar Point right there. There's downtown Sandusky. The worst of this storm may just pass south of, say, Catawba Island. But I'll tell you what, Cedar Point and Sandusky, even though folks in Sandusky right now, correct, are not under that tornado warning, I would prepare as if you were. Severe thunderstorm warning, certainly you should always do that too. So there's the town of Bay. Again, as Sam has been mentioning, we are not talking Bay Village. When you say Bay here in northern Ohio, you think of the beautiful lakeshore community just west of downtown Cleveland. That is not the same spot. So this is the western edge here of Sandusky Bay. So we are south of Port Clinton, west of Bayview, Danbury there. And notice here, this is the rotation. This is something we look at. This takes us inside the storm. The wind's inside the storm. And you can see we do have that couplet that we look at. It's pretty diffuse, meaning it's not a super duper tight couplet you would see with big EF4s and EF5 tornadoes out in the western part of our country. But when you see a rotation like this, and as Sam and Erica were mentioning, when you get that confirmation from trained weather spotters out there to the west of us that there is not only rotation, we knew there was rotation, we knew there was a potential funnel cloud, but when you get actual confirmation that a tornado potentially, or at least according to the spotter, is on the ground, you take this very seriously. You take those ground confirmation warnings a different level than just Doppler radar indicated, because a lot of times the Doppler indicated tornadoes don't end up happening. But when you get the ground confirmation, that is something that we take very seriously as well. Sam, let's take a look at the hail, because I do think as far as the largest impact here from this storm, it's got to be the large hail out there as well, because we've been tracking potentially up to golf ball size hail too. So that's the wind inside the storm. Now, if we look at our radar, this is also our correlation coefficient. And what basically that does is it gives us a good idea of where potentially there could be some debris. Notice we got a little bit showing up here, don't we, Sam?
Some debris showing up. I was working with, speaking with the Weather Service right now as I'm driving the radar, so we just want to be sure we have all of our ducks in a row. And there is video floating around of this tornado. So we do now, Jason, have more confirmation. We trust spotter reports,
sure,
obviously, but once you've got video of something, that brings about a heightened level of severity. So as you were saying, this is just something folks out west need to be taking very seriously.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Weather Service does. I would suspect this warning is extended, by the way, into portions of Erie and Huron County within the next, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes here. Okay, this is a good image here. This is radar. This is no longer the winds inside the storm. It's no longer our debris tracker as well. This is actual radar. So when you see something like this, when you see that pink color, whoa, that is a big hail core, likely a very large hail core. So we're talking about, I would not be shocked if we get some video approaching golf ball size hail from this storm. And that does not happen that often here in northern Ohio. Again, you see over my head here, we have the 19 first alert weather day in effect. We've been under that first alert weather day all day long. We looked at the data this morning and certainly showed you that we could have some severe weather, and that's exactly what's happening right now. So you can see from Port Clinton all the way off towards the Erie area. That's not Erie, Pennsylvania. That's Erie, Ohio. It's a town right along the lakeshore. There's 163. There's the town of Bay. And this right here, just south of Port Clinton, this is likely where we're getting hit with our heaviest and largest hail right now. Not with the tornado warning. The tornado warning normally would be on the south side of this thing where you see that little bit of a hook there, just south of Port Clinton. Hard to see on the radar. Let's go ahead and track the center where the circulation is. Good idea there. Just west, Sandusky Bay west, as this storm continues to move its way near Sandusky. So I'm going to say right now, if you live Sandusky and south, if you're in western portions of Erie County, western portions of Huron County, now is the time to take shelter. We're going to try to get this track on this particular storm right there. You can see the movement south and east at about 25 to 35 miles per hour. And we're going to widen out just a little bit. We want to get as many towns here for you to kind of give you a good idea of where this storm is heading. There is the track. Bellevue here in the next 20 minutes. So if you're in Bellevue, the time to take shelter is now. I would not wait for the Weather Service to reissue this tornado warning. I know they're looking at it, but you know, I'd rather be on the, so the worst case scenario is you take shelter for a half an hour and turn the audio up. Okay, you're better safe than sorry. Key thing with a tornado and with winds like this or hail like this, get away from the windows, please. Best idea. Monroeville, 739. The town of Norwalk there. If this were to hold together at the current trend, 745. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here near the Wakeman area at 8. That's still in 50 minutes. But you get the idea here. This storm could, at least the worst part of this storm, could, I want to emphasize could, pass just south of Cedar Point, just south of Sandusky as well. That's a look at the rotation in this storm. Again, just to give you a quick reset here. Current time is 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. We will get you out to your regular programming as soon as the danger has passed. We've got a warning for tornado warning for Ottawa and Sandusky County. This is not a Doppler indicated warning. It is showing on the radar. Certainly you see something like that. When we have trained weather spotters with at least eyewitness accounts of a tornado and now video potentially from this storm. And again, we never, ever want folks to go out there and risk themselves with any video. Until that storm and that threat has passed, we're going to stay on the air. Ottawa and Sandusky counties until 7:15. What she's showing right now, this is the hail tracker. Okay, so you can see this storm is producing hail. That's basically in the past. That's not current. That's what the storm has done in the past. So Oak Harbor, just off to the north, this thing is producing some large hail. We don't typically get big hail here in northern Ohio. This one appears to be bucking the trend. And I'll tell you what, again, along the lakeshore, any lakeshore county, I'm going to include here Lorain County as well, because this storm is heading that way as long as it hugs the lakeshore. Now, we'll see if it turns a little southerly. What tends to happen with these particular storms is they do tend to do a little curve to the south as they move through. They go towards where the air is a little bit more supportive and a little more energetic for these storms. So, tornado warning again, we have another 4.5 to 5 minutes on this storm for Ottawa and Sandusky County. Sam, I know you're monitoring the folks at the Weather Service because, again, they issue the warnings. We can go ahead on the air before a warning is issued. We can stay on after a warning is issued if we feel like it. But a lot of times they'll give you indications with what they're saying right now, depending on is this warning going to be reissued for, let's say, Erie County or potentially Huron County. What are you hearing there?
I haven't heard anything just yet. The current warning in effect until 7:15. Then there is, of course, that second severe thunderstorm warning with a tag of a tornado possible until 7:30. But as far as extending that tornado warning, still have 3 minutes on it. They haven't said yet if they will extend it. I'm willing to bet, given the situation out there and the fact that this is now an observed and confirmed tornado, I would think they would continue to extend this farther to the south and east. The storm looks like it's wrapped up even more in the last couple of scans, so it's becoming a little bit concerning what we're seeing on the radar down south of Portland.
Yeah, and you can see this area in gray. That's where the hail is likely. This is a big hail event as well. I mean, you know, even if it wasn't a tornado warning, this might be something we'd be on the air about, just because the potential for not just your garden variety pea-sized hail, but the potential for a little bit larger, quarter plus size, golf ball size hail possible. And in fact, evidence of this storm has produced, courtesy of trained weather spotters up in the Toledo area, this storm did produce golf ball size hail. That is no joke. You don't want to be outside in that. Certainly you don't want to have your car outside in that as well. So we just had this tornado warning as we expected. It was continued and reissued. Sam and I were just speaking about this. This is for now Erie County, and it goes another half an hour. So we're going to be on the air for at least another half an hour here, because now we are officially into our coverage area, Sam, and that's why we were on the air before it moved into our coverage area, as far as, you know, our warnings and our counties that we're responsible here for in northern Ohio. And we like to do this. We don't like to do this, but we feel a responsibility to do this when these storms are coming in from our western counties. It's different when the storms are moving out. In this case, Ottawa and Sandusky were first, and now we've added only Erie to that, which is very interesting to me, because I think even northern Huron could be at risk for this thing. But the Weather Service is just saying basically western, mostly western portions of Erie County. And that's exactly what we were just talking about. If you're in and around Sandusky, if you live south of Sandusky, especially there, between Sandusky and Norwalk, you want to get to your safe spot right now. Let's take a look again inside the storm here, Sam, and look at our winds in this storm. So you see, we've got a little bit of rotation here. You got some stuff happening.
All right, I'm just going to break in here while Jason kind of goes through some of these storm patterns. And I want to show you video that we just had into our newsroom here, courtesy of our affiliate in Toledo. This shows some of the damage from the storm. I know it's stretched. This comes, somebody was shooting this vertically. But just take a look at this. This is the damage that we are seeing from the tornado that has hit parts of Sandusky, Ottawa, Erie, now also under these warnings. The tornado warning until 7:45. We are interrupting our programming that is currently on the air for these reasons, because we need to make sure that everybody is safe, everybody is okay. It's a very dangerous time for many. I'll bring you back now to Jason.
Family out at Cedar Point today, shoot them a text and say, don't get on a ride. I'm assuming the folks at Cedar Point are taking the right precautions. In case they aren't, tell them to get inside and take shelter on this, because it's not going to be that long. This thing's going to blow through in the next 20, 30 minutes. What is our speed on this storm, Sam?
So the current newly issued tornado warning, it's moving east now at 45. It looks like I'm just seeing a new severe thunderstorm watch coming through. So they have decided to do that.
That wasn't a moment too soon, was it?
No, you know, definitely warranted. I'll track this east at 45.
Okay, thanks.
I've been communicating with Erica back here. We have 3 meteorologists working this tornado, and it is a confirmed tornado. There's almost multiple areas, at least 2 areas of rotation with this. We'll track this one that's moving east at,
maybe angle that down just a hair.
45 miles per hour.
There you go, perfect.
So here's that eastward, almost like an east-southeast, that putting Sandusky at 728 now.
Yeah, especially the south side of Sandusky is my thinking. So in the next 10 to 12 minutes, bottom line, if you're in Sandusky right now, city of Sandusky, especially if you're just south of downtown Sandusky along the lake shore, now's the time to get to your safe spot. Get down to the lowest point of your home, you get to the basement, get away from windows, take cover, turn up the audio on the app or on television here. This is not something we like to do, cutting in for tornado warnings. Believe me, we haven't had to do this much at all this year. We have had a very quiet severe weather season. Folks are maybe out of practice a little bit. So it's just to recap what you're supposed to do. We also have an online first alert weather safety guide that you can go through as well. We have that on our website. Very helpful for events like this. Walks you through what you're supposed to do depending on where you are. If you're out on the road, if you live in a mobile home, all those things. But if you're in a home, get to the lowest point of your home, Put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. Get away from the windows. Please do not go outside and try to get a shot of this thing, because most likely it's going to be rain wrap with a bunch of rain, maybe some hail, and a lot of haze out there in the sky too. So it's not necessarily a visible thing like you see out out in the plains where they have these huge tornadoes. That's not the situation we're dealing with here. Sandusky here in the next 10 minutes, on into Huron 738, Florence 751. And then if this were to continue, remember just about 5 to 10 minutes ago, I said, I'll tell you what, Lorain County may be under the gun here. Amherst 801, Elyria 809, and yes, potentially here, Avon 815. So what this tells me is in about an hour, this particular storm will be through Lorain County and knocking on the door of Cuyahoga County. It all depends on if it weakens, if it turns a little south, and how it may interact with any type of boundaries that have been set up as well due to the daytime heating. Let's take a live look right now at Cedar Point. There is a live picture, and certainly you can see from that they've got a lot of rain. I do think they have cars there, so folks are using the park. I don't see too many folks out and about milling around. Also don't see the rides moving. That does not surprise me. When you're under a tornado warning at Cedar Point, that is like, whoa, even a severe thunderstorm warning for that area too. I do think the worst of the storm will pass just south of Cedar Point. But it's interesting to watch this. It looks like while it is open, we don't have too many folks out, at least at the park at this hour. So there is a live look right now. Cedar Point Amusement Park is under a tornado warning here at 18 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday evening. Let's take another look here at what's going on. We did just have this severe thunderstorm watch issued. Would have been nice to have this earlier, but again, we don't make those calls. The only thing we can do is issue a 19 first alert weather day, which we did do today based on the data that we saw not only last night, but also this morning. So here's your watch. Till 11 p.m. It'll likely be expired before then, but you can see what the watch is. It's basically everybody, nothing magical about county borders, so that's the watch. Okay, we have severe thunderstorm warnings out there, as well as the big tornado warning that is the reason we're on the air right now, and you can see where we've got going on. Now, you look at this at first glance, it doesn't look all that impressive. You've got some rotation, but it's pretty, as I mentioned, diffuse or kind of spread out. The issue with this storm is it has confirmation of a tornado, and that is a completely different ballgame when we talk about tornado warnings. This is not Doppler radar indicated. That's not the reason the warning was at least updated. It's because a tornado was spotted by a trained weather spotter, as well as damaging hail spotted by several trained spotters as this storm blew through Ottawa County earlier this evening. And Sam, we do see a little bit of rotation here. What about our correlation coefficient, which is basically a way to detect if we have any debris signatures in the storm? And that would tell us if stuff's flying around, dirt or whatever, trees, whatever the case may be. Do we see much with that? Yeah, we've got a lot of noise here, certainly.
Yeah.
And you see right there, yeah, I think we may have something here, right?
There's damage reports meteorologist Kelly Dobeck just forwarded me, and she's CC'd the newsroom on these two. So guys in the control room, issue if you can access the story ideas email. We've got damage reported out in Fremont towards Vickery. Thank you to Emerson, a trained 19 first alert weather spotter, for sending us that report. Some great photos there. We'll try to get those to y'all here within the next few minutes. He just sent them in. But currently, we do have some damage reports from this. So this is definitely something that we're going to continue to monitor. Jason was calling for what's called correlation coefficient, which is this radar that we're showing you right now. I know it looks a little chaotic, right? But what we're seeing in here with these returns southwest of Margaretta, this is where we may have some issues in terms of this storm being, it's rightfully so warned for a confirmed tornado that we've been hearing about from the National Weather Service. So this CC, or correlation coefficient radar, we want to pull this up to be sure that we're getting you a look inside the storm, seeing if we can see various debris of different shapes and sizes. It's just a different way to look inside the storm. So that's what we're showing you. Just showing you a couple of different radar products. There's one of them. And then, of course, we have this velocity product. So what we're looking at right now is not rain. It's the radar picking up winds, how the radar sees winds way high above our heads. So that's why we show you this frequently. Again, that tornado warning in effect until 7:45. Still in effect for Ottawa, Sandusky, or excuse me, still in effect until 7:45 for Erie, Ottawa, and Sandusky County. So again, this is coming in from our west. Sandusky is under this tornado warning, although as Jason was mentioning a few minutes ago, most of that rotation is going to go south of Sandusky unless something pops up here within the next few minutes.
Yeah, really, you know, we showed you that video earlier, that live pictures out of Cedar Point, that they're under a tornado warning. Technically they are, but I'll tell you what right now, while the situation is pretty dangerous up there, for the most part, this rotation is south of Sandusky. It is south of Cedar Point. In fact, this will pass to your south, and the danger will be over for folks that may be at Cedar Point. We have some video here. This is out of the Toledo area. This storm, what it produced, if you could take a look at that, and it is pretty significant if we do have that damage. We'll get to it whenever we get to it. But this storm did cause some damage out in the Toledo area because of potential the tornado. Let's take a look at it here. And even some hail. Okay, see, no, so it's hard to see, but boy, you can see a lot of trees down, trees snapped. It doesn't necessarily mean a tornado, but certainly does mean, looks like those telephone poles back at the beginning there that were just kind of on their side. I'd have to re-look at that video briefly here, right there. Almost looks like those are telephone poles. I'd have to confirm that. That certainly shows winds in excess of 60+ miles per hour. And what will happen is, most likely, the Weather Service over the next day or two, depending on how busy they are tonight, they'll get out there and they'll take a look at that storm damage and determine whether or not that was indeed a tornado. That's the only way they can do it, unless they have potentially video of the tornado. If they don't have that, they have to go and look at the damage. And based on that damage, especially if there's some twisting, they'll be able to make a determination whether or not that was indeed a tornado. And you can really, when you speed this up, boy, when you loop that, Sam, you can see that spin of this storm. And that is classic. And really, as I look at this, it's really got more of a southerly trajectory than perhaps this polygon is showing. So that's not necessarily great news for, let's say, portions of Huron County as well. While Huron County is not under this warning, I would say if you live Norwalk and north, Route 18 and north, you might want to get to your safe spot. Don't wait until the warning is issued. Obviously, you're already under a severe thunderstorm warning, which normally is an indicator that you want to be, you don't want to go outside. You want to try to get away from windows. You don't necessarily need to go to your safe spot, but that tornado warning certainly is a different ballgame. I mean, you can see how this just goes right on that county border line between Erie County and Huron County right there. Here's the town of Sandusky. There's Oak Harbor and Fremont. The danger has passed. Certainly the danger has passed in the Toledo area. So is this also for Ottawa and Sandusky? Yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah, this is new.
Right.
New, and Seneca County and Erie and Huron County. It's just, I don't want to say it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. It's a severe thunderstorm warning tagged tornado possible. Till 8:15.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so for this new severe thunderstorm warning, there is a tagline saying, hey, we may also see a tornado out of this thing. So that's kind of the way to cover it. But again, this is what we're talking about. There's the town of Sandusky, just off to the south and west. Really, Sam, right along the turnpike, heading south and west, moving into Erie County and Huron County as well. The tornado warning is only for Erie County until 7:45, and also Ottawa and Sandusky County as this storm is moving out of those counties and into Erie County as we speak. And again, as I mentioned, northern Huron too, very close to this. Let's get a track on this. It's speeding up, moving what, 40 to 45 miles per hour, correct?
Yeah, they're saying east at 40.
Okay.
But you were talking about how it kind of has more of an east-southeast.
Yep.
So we'll put the times up on the screen for you so you can see where that rotation is headed. and you should be able to see those right behind Jason. This is also tagged, Jason, for large hail, golf ball size hail now at this point.
Yeah, so that's what we've been saying, that this storm has a history. This is not just look at the radar and what do you think's happening. This storm has a history of producing golf ball sized hail. That's a big deal. We don't get that. We can go 5 years without getting golf ball size hail here in northern Ohio. So to have that potentially happening tonight, and even if it's not golf ball size, if it gets a little smaller, it's still pretty big. We in fact have some confirmation of this hail event with this storm right now. If we could take a look at this video here in a moment. There it is. Now we don't know how big this hand is. So that's kind of the problem. He could have a huge hand. He could have a small hand. When you take pictures like this, put a quarter next to it. I'm assuming it's a decent sized hand, and that is a large hailstone. If that's a normal hand, that is at least golf ball size hail. But if you're going to wait until the storm passes and you get some hailstones and you want to send them to us, thank you so much. Do it safely, but put reference there. I always like to use a quarter because the quarter is the same size no matter what. So that really gives us an idea of how big the hailstone is. But that is significant hail. That type of hail, assuming the hand is a normal size, is not something we normally see here in northern Ohio. So take a look here. Perkins, 746. Huron, 755. Florence, 809. Brownhelm, 817. I throw Lorain on there just because if this storm continues along its trajectory, it could impact portions of Lorain County. In fact, I have no reason to think it will not impact portions of Lorain County. We're reaching almost our 7:30 half hour here. Again, we're on the air because of a continuing tornado warning. Sam, if we could put that tornado warning info up instead of the severe thunderstorm warning, I really want to focus on why we're on the air. They just trimmed that back. So this is brand new information right now. You're seeing it live. Erie and Sandusky County until 7:45 on this particular tornado warning. And really, we're focusing on south of Sandusky. I think if you're in downtown Sandusky or you live right near the city, you're fine. But just south of that, you're under this warning. And this is the dangerous part of the storm. Right there where you see the green and the red pretty close together. That's where we likely have that rotation. That's where we likely have a tornado, potentially a tornado on the ground. So Erie and Sandusky counties, you see it right there until 7:45. We will be on the air here until 7:45 or later, even if the warnings are dropped, if we still think there's a danger. Remember, the top priority here at 19 News, we talked about it during the 6 o'clock newscast, is to get on the air and let you know what's going on with an alert. When this warning was issued, we were on the air letting you know what's going on with this to make sure you stay safe. Now, I realize not everyone is under this warning, but just think about if it was happening in your neighborhood. You'd want us to be on the air. And of course, when, and we hope it doesn't happen, but when that severe cell or tornado comes to your town, we'll be on the air for you as well. In addition to the potential of a tornado here, and I almost want to use not even the potential, we likely do have a tornado here, and the hail, we've also got very strong damaging winds, which was the greatest threat going into today. And that, of course, has caused some power outages across northern Ohio. Our digital journalist, Jeff Slauson, is here now. Jeff, what are the latest numbers there as far as power?
Yes, so before we get to that really quickly, just want to show some footage that we've seen come in here. There's kind of the tale of two cities there. You have the one barn there that is completely intact, and then you have this barn here that has been absolutely destroyed there. That's just some of the damage that we're already starting to see. If you have any damage video, please do not hesitate to let us know. All right, so just to kind of start off here, let's zoom in on this left-hand side. So 11,272, that is affected customers. So that's basically individual households. That does not determine how many people are actually totally affected. We've been keeping an eye on this since we broke in on the air, what is that, 30 minutes ago or so. We were starting at about 30. Then we jumped to about 7,000. Now we are at 11,000, and a vast majority of them are in one particular area of Ohio, and that's exactly where you guessed it. Yeah, the portions that we have seen this tornado kind of come through, and Jason, I'm pretty sure this is exactly that area that we've seen this come through.
That's right, yep.
So what we've been noticing progressively throughout the past half hour or so, I want to just kind of show you the path that we've seen. The strong majority of the outages started right about here, okay? Then, over the past 15 minutes or so, we've seen this number escalate to where it is now at 50 plus, so that basically means that we have at least 50, if not more, customers just in one area seeing these outages. And then the more that we have followed down the coast, we've seen this 15 cluster, this 34 cluster. Those big clusters are a problem. That fundamentally shows that, at least in part for us, we are seeing a large grouping of these outages. Now, a large majority, as I said, have been in those counties, but the one thing I want to kind of show here is the path that it's been moving. So if you're out there saying, well, why should I care right now? It's because we've seen 50 plus show up, then another 50 plus, essentially following along that path that the warning has been on. So what we've been noticing is you need to be prepared that you could potentially be losing power if you are in one of those areas. It's basically been following exactly what Jason and Sam and Erica have been saying, which is the path of this is causing a lot of damage and causing for many people a lot of issues. One more thing here before we go. I just want to see if I can get this on there. We have access to some webcams that can show you exactly what the footage is and what it looks like on the ground here. It may look pretty normal in some parts, but we've seen while following along on these webcams, it's changed like that. So for a lot of conditions, it can look nice 1 second and then completely change. Another, we'll be keeping an eye on this, of course, as we continue. Don't know if I'm sending it to Jason or not. Yep, I'll send it back to Jason.
All right, Jeff, great work there, and stay close because you'll have the latest, not only with video that we get in. And again, I want to point out, I know in this day and age, everybody's got one of these. They want to head on outside and go, what's going on? Do not, please do not do that. Train spotters, at times when they are safe, can do that from a distance, from a safe distance. Now, if the storm blows through and you have damage, sure, take a picture safely. You have a hailstone, take a picture, that's fine. Do not go out in the storm, during the tornado warning. Believe me, it is just not worth it. So Jeff will be monitoring all the social media feeds to see what type of pictures we have. We had some damage video as well, and he will be monitoring what's going on as far as power outages go. When we cover severe weather here at 19 News, it is a team effort. It's not just the weather department. Our news department will be out. We'll be surveying this damage, and I would suspect that we'll have a crew in that area potentially for our later newscast. If not, we will get on that, certainly. Notice here, this is the polygon, we call it, or the area under the tornado warning. So you see we've got this area here of this rotation. There's the red, meaning winds that are moving inside the storm away from the radar. Then you have green moving in towards the radar. We still have this, what we call a couplet, which means rotation. Now we're getting closer to the airport too. And as we get closer to the airport where the radar beam is, we start to increase our confidence on what data we are seeing, not when we're shooting too far away. We're using our Cleveland radar here, so we're really starting to get better information as this storm gets closer. I was just speaking with meteorologist Erica Page, who is an expert storm chaser and a severe weather analyst, and she was talking about basically the insides and the energy of this storm are dropping a little bit. Perhaps this storm is weakening just a little bit, and that wouldn't surprise me. Certainly the hail potentially falling out, because it's hard for a storm like this to keep going. It's like pedal to the metal for how long? Eventually, the gas almost runs out on this thing, especially here. We're reaching almost 7:30, 8 o'clock. You're starting to lose a little bit of that daytime heating, but again, we're in the middle of June, so our sunset is very late. Norwalk 7:53 in the next 20 minutes. Norwalk right now, we've been talking about it. Even though it's just south of that county border, it's a good idea to take shelter. I think this polygon is interesting that they don't have it a little bit more of a south. They may update this depending on this storm. Right now, they've done a pretty good job because it's right in the middle of that polygon. So if that continued, it would go through the heart of Erie County. And I'll tell you what, it will head eventually into Lorain County as well. Townsend 801, Florence 808, Henrietta 815, on into Wellington 824, Elyria, Lorain 830. Jeff Slauson, as I mentioned, he's our digital journalist. He's always on top of things, what's going on, and he's got more on what potentially, I looked over my shoulder there, is definitely a tornado, Jeff.
Yeah, let's just kind of show you this as fast as we can here. So it's going to restart. These are all viewer videos that we have seen coming in, and of course, courtesy of our sister station as well out in Toledo. Once this resets, I want you to watch. It's going to go from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the screen, and you will see what seems to be a pretty large part of a roof kind of fly off here. Yeah, Jason, come on in here. So we're going to see it kind of come from the right-hand side. You see it right there.
There it is right there,
yep.
For sure.
So now look at this. Ready? Yeah, and you can also telestrate if you need there.
Thanks.
Right there.
There's the damage right there, and that's certainly caused from a twist, from that lowering of the cloud. It's not necessarily a straight line wind event. You could certainly see that rotation coming in from the right side of the screen off to the left.
Let's get to another one I want to show you here.
Again, this is trained spotter doing that. Do it carefully.
So that right there, I don't know if you can kind of see on the screen there, but that seems like some sort of a cyclone in a way there. I mean, that's another
To step back.
photo that we've seen, you can see it probably better actually.
Yeah, and again, this is tough because while you do see certainly the lowering of the clouds, we don't know how far that goes down. This certainly is something that if we had video of, it might be rotating, and then we could make a determination. But looking at that as a still shot, we just don't really have enough evidence to make any type of determination. But that is a little bit of a lowering of the cloud, or a wall cloud, potentially a funnel cloud as well. But if we don't see the ground truth, we can't necessarily see that's a tornado.
Speaking of the ground, this is some damage that we have confirmed has taken place. I'm going to get out of the telestration real quick. I just want to pause some of this.
Are those telephone poles?
Those
I
are.
couldn't tell.
I want to try and see if I can.
That's a big deal. Looks like a telephone pole was
So
split.
you know how we were mentioning the thousands of outages that we were seeing right now?
Wow.
Yeah, you can see why. I'll zoom in even a little bit more there. So you can really drastically see the damage that's being caused
There it
from
is.
this. And as we kind of go back at least 2 spots here, we'll stop this one. Just looking at the damage that's been caused on some of this, keep an eye out again for the right-hand side, or your right-hand side of the screen there. I mean, that is just absolute damage in some areas.
Yeah, the winds there in that storm are probably between 80 to 100 miles an hour rotating there. That's a guesstimate. That's an estimation based on what the radar has shown and the damage that it's causing, potentially even a little bit more. So that's a big deal. And certainly there, that was, again, the Weather Service will make the appropriate call on this when they go out. But that most likely was indeed a tornado touchdown. Where was that video from? Do you know,
Jeff?
Jeff?
Let's just grab that really quickly here while we...
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no,
didn't know.
this is why we're doing this.
Oh, that's
Point
from our
Place.
sister station. Got it.
Yeah, so that's Point Place, and that's courtesy of our sister station out in...
Point Place is Toledo?
Yes.
Okay.
So really quickly as well, before I do send it back to you there, we've been mentioning the outages just in, so you all saw where we were about 5 minutes ago at about 11,000. We're now at 13,000 outages, so that's how fast this has gone up, and that's just since we started to look for some of that video, Jason.
Yeah, good stuff there. And again, Jeff will be monitoring the social media feeds and Train Weather Spotter videos and also still photos as well. Quick recap, we have 7 more minutes on this warning. And Sam, you and I just had this conversation about, 20 minutes ago? Will this be extended? I would suspect.
Second tornado warning. Erica was on this, meteorologist Erica Page, monitoring a second area of rotation around
this one right here.
Bellevue. Yeah, so we'll put the new tornado warning in there, and that's until 8:15 now.
So be really clear here. These are 2 different areas of rotation because obviously you see the polygon is not continuing along this first rotation's path. So we now have, Sam, 2 different rotations on our radar right now. 2 individual tornado warnings, correct?
Yeah, it's 2 separate warnings. You can see the hook on that northern storm and then that area where it just goes to bright red to the west of Norwalk. That's going to be the second area of rotation.
Yep.
But the Weather Service is actually starting their warning up north. So they're now including towns to the south and towns to the west in this warning. So it's 2 areas of interest they're watching. So now need to seek shelter, not just out in Erie County, but in Norwalk, Bronson, Sherman, and Bellevue as well for that second warning.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Sam, that these 2 storms are kind of moving in different directions. You don't always see that. So we've got a little, perhaps there was an outflow boundary from an earlier storm or from this storm, and there was some interaction there that caused an additional spin up. But again, we have 2 different tornado warnings now. We're going to throw them all together because they happen to, I believe, end at the same time. Erie, Huron, Sandusky, and now Seneca County until 8:15 on this 2 tornado warnings for 2 completely different cells. Let's go ahead, since this is a new warning, Sam, let's track this rotation to the south there first. And we could do that and kind of get some towns out. Boy, this is quite an evening here across northern Ohio. We were barely outlooked for any type of severe weather. We issued the alert this morning, and glad we did, because our goal is to always make sure you have the latest information. Never want to scare you. It's more about preparation than anything else. So let's go ahead and track that. There you go.
I'm going to zoom out for you to get it to 40.
Yeah. Moving pretty quick, 40 miles per hour. So we start to talk about, the Ashland area, the Mansfield area, we'll see with that. Let's just focus on what's happening right now. Norwalk, we've been saying for quite some time now, Norwalk, it's smart to take shelter, and we continue to say that here on this newer warning. Bronson, 8 o'clock, Fitchville, 8:12, New London, 8:18. Then on into Sullivan, potentially Ashland, that's closer to 8:30. 7:41 is the current time right now. We have 2 tornado warnings in effect here in northern Ohio. That's why we're on the air. We don't want to be on the air, but this is the most important thing that we do here at the television station is to keep you informed. And obviously severe weather days, 19 first alert weather days are our top priority. North Fairfield here in the next 20 minutes. Greenwich at 8:10, 8:15 New London, Weller, Ashland closer to 8:30. And then West Salem potentially at 8:40 as this thing potentially goes all the way down to Interstate 71. So 2 different areas. Here's the one that they did issue a warning for. Meteorologist Erica Page was monitoring this particular thunderstorm and did see the potential for a tornado warning. And then the Weather Service did issue that. In fact, Sam and I were talking about if this warning would be extended. As of now, that has not happened. So we got 2 different warnings. And this, again, is something that we've been monitoring all evening long during our 3, 4, 5, and 6, and now, of course, on the air a little before 7 o'clock because of these warnings. All right, Tiffany Tucker is here as well. As I mentioned, this is a complete station team effort when it comes to severe weather, and Tiffany has info on what potentially law enforcement folks are saying, Tiffany?
Yeah, so during the 6 o'clock hour, you and Sam and Erica let us know that there could be potential, weather happening. So I put a call into Sandusky, Erie County Sheriff's Office. Right now they're okay, but just a moment ago, you and Sam mentioned the Bellevue area, if I'm saying this correctly, a second tornado warning. So while you guys were doing what you were doing, Jeff is also getting some video, and I called and I spoke with the Bellevue Police Department, and she said at that very moment, no reports, but she says we are right in the middle of it. I can't talk to you right now. We have a lot of wind and a lot of hail coming through our area right now. So in about 5 minutes or so, I'm going to give her a call back. Hopefully there isn't any damage, but they were preparing for it. She said, I'm looking out my window and I could hear alerts. I said, is that a tornado warning siren going off? She goes, no, that's when we have weather like this. We have alarms going off. So that was in the Bellevue area where you just mentioned that there was a tornado warning. They're seeing a lot of wind, a lot of rain, a lot of hail. So far, no reports of any damage, thank goodness, but the dispatcher there was prepared for it. She could see what was happening outside her window, Jason.
Yeah, great information there, Tiffany. And again, law enforcement are helping us out tonight. While they give us some information, they've got to obviously keep the community safe and make sure everyone has the help that they need. So again, we're on the air here at least until 8:15 for Erie and Huron County, as well as Sandusky and Seneca for a tornado warning. And this is the original one right here, Erie and Sandusky County until 7:45. Let's zoom in and really deal with a relatively unique situation. There are basically, Sam, 2 tornado warnings overlapping each other, which does not happen every day, certainly here. And here's the one that's the newest one. You can see a lot of red indicating these winds blowing away from the radar, and then a little bit of green kind of wrapping up in it, and that's likely where we have our tornado. This is 547 right there. There's Route 4. That's a big road. There's the town of Lyme, 269 as well. Even as we head over towards Monroeville, 99, 61, 2 on this warning. And you can see the town of Sherman. Boy, if you're in Sherman, if you're on 547 or south, now is the time to get to your safe spot. We've got rotation. We've got potential, at least with this storm, has a history of producing tornadoes. We've seen the video. We've had the reports from trained spotters. This is as serious as it gets. Now, I do want to point out the rotation on the north cell seems to be just a little bit stronger there. We've got a little bit more of a bright color there. But we do have 2 multiple tornado warnings right now occurring in northern Ohio. And the one on top, I believe, Sam, was allowed to expire. Am I correct here at 7:45?
Yeah, that one's been allowed to expire, although I mean, there's multiple areas of rotation there. So,
it really is.
Like you said a moment ago, nothing magical about county borders, sometimes nothing magical about polygons. So when Jason's pointing out those areas of rotation, take those seriously.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We've got 2 distinct areas of rotation there. You see the big red globs right now. There's Bellevue. Tiffany Tucker was just talking about, she spoke to a law enforcement person there in Bellevue saying that she had to get off the phone because it was pretty nasty. They were getting hail. They were getting a lot of wind as well. So obviously they're doing great work out there trying to keep folks safe. And then there's the rotation just north of Bellevue. That's why it's still under the warning until 8:15. All right, Jeff Slauson, our digital journalist. Jeff has more video here from tonight's severe weather.
This one's, this one probably shows the most that we've seen thus far. And all the videos that we are showing right now have been cleared by our affiliate over in Toledo. I want to show you this one right now that shows cars driving. I believe this is in the Point Place area. I can't totally.
Point Place?
I'm going to double check after I show this really quickly, but take a look at this. Ready?
It's right off I-75. You can see the sign.
Look at that. Yep.
Yeah, boy, look at that being on the road and that stuff. Oh, my goodness.
People are still driving. I mean, they're kind of just walking back and forth here.
Yeah.
So this is in the Sandusky area, right? I mean, some pretty insane damage that we are seeing. I mean, look at the debris that's going across the street. I'm going to come back to this video in 1 second because we have an update from Toledo Fire and Rescue. If you are in the Point Place area, stay home. Do not go outside. Do not go to survey the storm damage. Stay home. Right now, they need to be able to conduct their work efficiently, and the only way that they can do that is if you're not in the road. So if you are in that area, you got to stay out of the way, and I think the best way to show it is in the damage from this video, because you can see, I mean, you look at the lights, you look at the signage. Jason was pointing out how this is a 90 sign heading to Toledo. Yeah.
I think 75, but
75.
I could be wrong. It looks like it says Dayton there.
Yeah, Dayton, you're correct.
Okay.
But just the signage that is moving, the damage that we are seeing that is going on here, and obviously we keep trying to find more videos. I've seen a couple that we're waiting to get cleared here that show a very clear picture of what happened. But I mean, Jason, this is pretty major damage considering, and for people here, just look at this again. You can see the roof of this building right there just get tossed off like it's tinfoil.
Yeah, that's indicated, and you can see the rotation there. Most likely that is, yeah, absolutely a tornado that rips the roof off there. And boy, oh boy, the Weather Service is going to be very, very busy, Jeff, tomorrow surveying all this storm damage. And unfortunately, we are not out of the woods at all. In fact, I don't like to see what I'm seeing there on the radar. We've got pretty good twisting in the atmosphere here. This is the town of Sherman. Again, tornado warning in effect for Erie, Huron, Sandusky, and Seneca. That goes until 8:15 tonight for this cell out to our west. And you can see this is inside the storm. Notice the different colors, the direction of where the wind is flowing. And boy, if you're in this area, if you're in the Sherman area, or specifically just east of Sherman, you can see the roads. There's 99, Route 99. You want to get to your safe spot immediately. We've got our correlation coefficient. Basically, this is our debris product. We potentially have a little bit right there. Again, Route 99, if we do have a tornado on the ground, it's likely between Route 61 and Route 99. Here, just off to the west of Bronson. There's 250. There's the town of Norwalk. Okay, this is a big deal. Norwalk is a big town just off to the south and west is where this tornado is likely occurring right now. And again, remember, we have had several, not only videos, but also ground confirmation from trained weather spotters of tornado touchdowns this evening. And I don't care how weak the tornado is. A tornado is a tornado. It's spinning winds, can take off roofs as we've seen there, and can really cause some damage. We've had reports and have seen video of trees basically getting sawed off, telephone poles, power poles on their side as well. That's why we've had so many areas without power. So we've got a couple of areas of rotation. We've got one here. I would say, Sam, looking at both of these rotations, I think the southern one has kind of stolen the thunder, so to speak, from the northern one, right?
Yeah, I'm just chatting back here with Erica, monitoring that southern rotation, and it appears like it not only is it trying to wrap up, but there may be some additional rotation to the south of really southeast of Sherman. You're seeing almost 2 areas of rotation there.
It's nasty stuff, bottom line, right? I mean, you're in the path of this storm anywhere between Sherman and Bronson, right?
Yeah.
You just got to take shelter because it's a pretty wide area of rotation. This is not tight, but boy, look at that. How
I know.
It really happened fast.
I'm going to track that southeast. It looks like it's still moving to the southeast at about 40 miles per hour. So that's why we have to kind of widen.
It's going to head towards 71.
Folks. Yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I mean, it's a ways out, obviously, from getting to Ashland. We have over 30 minutes before that happens, but be paying close attention to this, even if you're not inside the polygon. If you're to the south in places like northern Ashland County, southern Huron County, especially southeastern Huron County, we need to be paying close attention to this storm because it's not showing any signs of weakening.
No, it's not. We've been on the air about an hour now covering this continuing tornado warning. And And that's what we do. As long as there's a tornado warning in the area, we're going to be on the air for you, and we're going to be there with you until that danger has passed. So you can make the right decisions there and at least have all the information that you need. If you're in your safe spot, that's great. Turn up the audio on your TV or your app, however you're listening to us. We can get at you a variety of ways to be sure you have the info. Because if you lose power, what good is your television? That's when you need the app and our streaming service as well. So there's a look here. 7:58 North Fairfield in the next 7 minutes. If you're in North Fairfield, Sam was just talking about it. Her and Erica analyzing this storm, and boy, you never like to see something increase and see the spin that rapidly, because what it means is it may be on the way up to something a little bit more significant. 8:09 there into Greenwich, New London 8:15, Ashland 8:33, West Salem 8:40, Congress 8:47. That would be along 71. All right, so again, almost east of 71 at that point. This storm, though, is heading towards the Ashland area, towards Interstate 71. While it's not very populated out where it is now, south of Norwalk, once you hit towards I-71, things do change just a little bit. So a quick reset here. 7:52 is the current timing. We have a warning for tornado warning, confirmed tornado. At least this storm has produced a confirmed tornado. In fact, multiple touchdowns of a confirmed tornado earlier this evening, as well as hail. How's our hail looking real quick, Sam? Because I know hail has been a real big issue when I saw these storms earlier. I'm not sure if we have a look at our radar. We can see
where
that
one
hail core may be. Weather 1. There it is. Okay. So that is where likely the hail has gone through. You can see there between Bellevue and Norwalk. That is a great picture of our hail tracker right there as you see it. And boy, easily quarter size, probably $half size, I would say is fair to say with this. The golf ball size hail may be done, hopefully, for tonight. Sometimes the storm will the hail falls out and that's about it. Hopefully that already happened. Now we do have video here from this storm. A lot of thunder in there as well. Okay. We do have video from this storm. We've been gathering video all throughout the evening, and I want to take a look at some of this and see what we've got. And you can see, again, we don't know where this is, but there you certainly see a tornado touching down. See the trees bending, see the spin there, certainly see the lowering of the clouds, the roof get kind of torn off, and even a little bit of inflow there. See the branches, how they're leaning to the left? That means that the branches are being pulled into this storm because of the spin. There it is right there. See some power flashes there. That is certainly a tornado touchdown. Maybe it's not something that you always envision when you see some more dynamic storm chasing out in the Great Plains. But this is, by the way, is from Point Place. Point Place is in the Toledo area, right? Okay. I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of it. Point Place is near the Toledo area. That is from this storm earlier this evening as it moved through. And again, this video is really something, being in your car, almost helpless there. You don't ever want to try to outrun the storm. You just gotta stay in your spot. And if you can get under a bridge or an overpass, that's great. But a lot of times those are just not available. So this is obviously some white knuckle stuff if you're in your car there. And again, I want to point to our first alert weather guide. It's something that we did this year for the first time. The entire weather team, it's online. If you go to our weather page, you'll see it. And what it does is it takes you through a variety of scenarios and spells out what to do. It spells out what first alert weather days are. It spells out what warnings are, watches, where to go as well for potential severe weather. That's all on our website, cleveland19.com. Now, I want to show this little meteorology here. Right there, what you see there, that is all likely some large hail. Not golf ball size, probably a little smaller. And this is called inflow. What does it mean? It means all this air right there is being sucked into the center of this storm, and there is a new tornado warning, Sam, as I'm saying that. I'm guessing that's going to go perhaps until 8:45 or 9, or they just shrink it a little bit, potentially. Okay, 8:30, there we go. And this, boy, when you look at this, Sam, that's out of a textbook. That is a hook echo. I hate seeing this in northern Ohio. That's the bottom line. So Norwalk, just to your south, there's the town of Willard. This warning goes until 8:30. I can't stress this enough. When I look at this image, that is likely a tornado on the ground right now. So this is heading just off to the west of New London. Here are some towns for you: North Fairfield, Boughtonville, 817, Greenwich, 825, New London, 832, specifically west side of New London. Let's go ahead and update our warnings right now for tornado warning. Sam, can you run it down so that we know what's happening here? I know till 8:30, right?
Yeah, so this new tornado warning for Huron County, that rotation, I mean, like you said, it's out of a textbook.
Yeah.
It's what you see when you look at a diagram of a supercell thunderstorm. So very defined rotation, not something we see very often here where you can just look at it quickly and tell there may be something on the ground. Now, it is tagged as radar indicated, but I'm kind of discussing this with Erica in here and seeing that debris ball almost on the radar. It's striking, and I would assume even without reports, there is something, even if it's an extremely low wall cloud, there has to be something there, but we don't want you to go outside and look. If your town is listed, you need to seek shelter immediately. We do not see radar signatures like this very often here.
No, we don't. So this really, you know, from a meteorology standpoint, I know you, Sam and Erica and myself look at this and say, boy, this is a really big deal. So we have to treat this as such. Again, we're always on the air for tornado warnings, no matter where they are in northern Ohio. But when you have ground confirmation, when you have video, trained spotters, you see something like this as well. And this, by the way, Sam, let's be clear. This is the strongest signature of any storm that we've seen tonight. So we know what the storm has already produced, and it didn't look like this. So when you get something like this, you can easily see, especially we look at the velocity product here, we've got very strong rotation, most likely near ground level right here. There's winds moving away from the radar, very strong winds moving toward it right there. So these roads, 61, this is the town of Bronson. Just southwest of Bronson, that's where the tornado is. This is 99, just off to the east of 99. We've been saying here now for about 15 minutes between Bronson and Sherman, that's the danger zone. That's exactly where this tornado is setting up. This tornado is about to cross 61 here. This goes until 8:30 with this particular warning for Huron County. So we will at least be on the air until 8:30. We do have more pictures and video from Jeff Slauson. We're going to get back to this storm. But again, if you're in this storm's path, and this goes all the way down here, New London, between New London and Willard as well, you want to get to your safe spot. North Fairfield, Greenwich, New London, as I said, get to your safe spot, lowest point of your home, as many walls between you and the storm as possible, and ride this thing out. Don't go outside. Don't take video. I really, you know, we say this all the time. I really mean it with this one because we really are seeing a signature that is indicative of not just a little weak spin up. We are seeing potential data here of something more significant. So I cannot stress this enough. Please don't take chances. Turn up the audio. I'm not trying to be dramatic here. This is something we don't typically see. All right, Jeff has more pictures, more video there from our digital area. Jeff.
Yeah, getting some stuff confirmed as we go here. So Point Place is an area that we've been touching on quite a bit here. Jason and I have been kind of showing you the maximum amount of footage that we can from this area, and I think this shows you very well. This is from the Anchor Inn in Point Place. So what this is showing you, take a look at there. Okay, the roof, yeah, that's gone, and essentially what we're seeing there is debris and damage. If that would zoom in, that would be great. It's not going to. Covering the front lawn, covering basically the entire area surrounding it. Again, this is the Anchor Inn in Point Place. I want to remind you all, Jason touched on this, Tiffany touched on this. I'm going to hammer this again one more time here. Toledo Fire and Rescue, they are asking, begging you, please, if you are in the Point Place area, you're seeing this damage. I mean, this is just a small part of what we've seen thus far. But if you are in the area and seeing this damage, stay inside. If you've dealt with this, stay inside. Don't go out and survey the storm damage. You need to stay inside and let the first responders, let the recovery crews do what they need to do. In a situation like this, it is incredibly difficult for ambulances, for fire trucks, for police vehicles to maneuver the streets. And if you're out in them, it makes it that much harder and that much more difficult. I want to point out and go to the outages that we've been kind of tracking here. I'm going to refresh here because it's been about a couple of minutes. And we've been watching the number climb, all right? So it's still at 16,576 outages. I'm going to show you the map, but first I want to show you the percentages of areas. I'm going to zoom in, don't worry. But what we are seeing right now in Sandusky, Ohio, 17%, yes, 17% of all customers in Sandusky are without power. So that means 17% essentially of households in Sandusky, Ohio don't have power. 11% of customers, 11% of households in Ottawa, Ohio do not have power. So when Jason's saying, look, we wouldn't be doing this if this wasn't a big deal, yeah, this shows you 10% of people right now that are in Sandusky, Ohio, they don't have power, and that number is only climbing. We are only seeing that go up even more. I want to zoom out really quickly to see if I have the latest info here. Yeah, Ottawa, Ohio, 12%, 5% of those in Lucas, Ohio do not have power. I mean, we are seeing thousands of people without power, and while a lot of these areas are incredibly rural, that doesn't mean that they're not being affected by this. That doesn't mean that they're not seeing some of these problems. If I can pull up let's try and see if I can find that video real quick of the down power lines to show. Sorry, we're trying to pull up all this stuff. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it again, Jason. But what we're seeing right now, I mean, these outages that we are seeing, we have not seen outages in this much, with this many people and this many customers in quite some time. And just in the past hour, that's gone from about 300 to 16,576.
Yeah. Well, those winds mean business. It's a pretty large area, not only with these strong winds, but also the potential on the rotation. So again, we're looking at this storm. We have a tornado warning in effect for Huron County until 8:30. We have not had much severe weather this year. In fact, I had to look back on my notifications. It's been like since April since we even had a severe thunderstorm warning. We haven't really had much in the way, certainly of any tornado warning. So it might be a little out of practice. That's why we're on the air to let you know what's going on. We have this one warning we're very concerned about. This is the one in basically Huron County, southern, now moving its way to central and southern Huron County. Notice the towns in the path of this storm. North Fairfield, 805, Greenwich, 816, on into Bailey Lakes, 831. And Sam touched on this earlier. We don't like to see this heading towards a big town like Ashland, but Ashland 839, Congress, and then on into Lake Fork. So again, a big deal here with these towns in the path of this storm. And right now we have on our rotation or our storm wind product, which really shows you what not only that we look at, but also the Weather Service when they issue these warnings, what you look at. You look inside the storm. You look to see that rotation. You look to see a couplet. And this one certainly is producing one. A couplet meaning we've got reds and greens kind of close together, and that's what we're seeing right now. There's the town of North Fairfield. There is Bronson. Bronson getting a very strong gust of wind, and likely where the tornado likely is, it's right just south of Bronson there. North of North Fairfield. Fitchville is there in the storm's path as well. Tornado warning for Huron until 8:30. We'll be on the air at least until then. Now, Tiffany Tucker has some more information. Tiffany, I know you've been talking to first responders and local sheriff's departments for info out west of Cleveland and now southwest of Cleveland. What do you have?
Yeah, you were talking about that second tornado warning in Bellevue about 20 minutes ago. When I called them, the dispatchers there, they said a lot of wind, a lot of hail, that she couldn't talk on the phone. I called back to see if there were any possible injuries or damage, and when I was on the phone with her, she said, I have to get off the phone right now. I'm getting 911 calls of damage in our area. That's the most information I could get from her. I couldn't get a specific location or street. So I did call a restaurant, the Benchwarmers restaurant off of Main Street. They didn't notice damage, but they did force all their customers inside that restaurant to the basement right away because they said the wind was so thick, so heavy, the rain was heavy, and their sirens were going off. So again, that Bellevue area with that second tornado warning that you guys pointed out, there is damage in that area. I don't know the extent of the damage, but the dispatcher's phone was ringing off the hook with 911 calls, and she had to get off right away. So that was the information I was able to get. So as you're giving out these warnings, these cities, I'm trying to kind of get ahead of it and call those departments and see what they're noticing, what they're experiencing, to give that information out as we have the pictures and the information that you, Sam, and Erica Page are giving us tonight.
Yeah, good information there. And boy, oh boy, that's out of the Bellevue area, which is just off to the west of Norwalk. You don't like to hear 911 calls and damage reports and all that. And you say a prayer for those folks in the path of this storm tonight. You know, our goal is to always make sure you have the information, that you're alerted, not alarmed, and that at least you're ready to go with this. Now, meteorologist Erica Page is the newest member of our team, and she's been here about a year now, Erica. Erica, you were looking at this southern edge of this storm before the warning was actually issued, taking a look at the storm. What can you tell us by looking at what we're looking at as far as our radar signatures? We've got this inflow here as well as the hail. Take us through a little bit of this storm.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was watching is cloud tops. That's a really good indicator of whether or not a storm is continuing to strengthen or whether or not it's starting to weaken. And what we were seeing was that the northern storm, which had been such a dominant storm through a good majority of this storm's life cycle, was starting to collapse a little bit more. So when we start to see that, that means the colder air is starting to rush out of that thunderstorm and it's going to push away from it. Well, then that colder air will cause some lift from the warmer, more unstable air that we were enjoying today. Temperatures into the middle and upper 70s. We saw that when we were in Storm Tracker out towards the Port Clinton area earlier today. So certainly that's enough fuel to get that rising motion in the atmosphere. And the other thing that has the advantage of this cell specifically is there's nothing developing out ahead of it. So the track of this storm is moving relatively east-southeast, but you'll see there's no other storms in its path. So it's basically able to take advantage of all of the warm, moist air and really maintain its strength until something else happens that will collide either with that storm to take away that inflow from it, or it just rains itself out and eventually starts to weaken as a lack of forcing, continuing to keep that storm strengthened.
Yeah, great information there. And what we're looking at right now are the winds inside this storm. First alert Doppler showing you that, the reds and the greens, and the latest track on this storm, North Fairfield right now, on into Greenwich here at 818, Bailey Lakes 833, on in potentially here into Ashland. You can see there is the rotation. That is the area of concern. Sam, do we have any? We do have another tornado warning until 8:15, right? That's for that northern cell.
Yeah.
Or is this? Yeah. Okay. We do have multiple ones, but this really is the one we're watching, right? The northern cell. We still have some funky weather right along the turnpike, no doubt about it, and a little rotation there near the Bellevue area. It doesn't have anything to do with this storm that we're tracking there, but you do still see a little bit of that. Wondering if the Weather Service will reissue for this particular one. I would suspect not.
Don't have any word from them just yet. We're in constant contact with them over the course of a severe weather event like this. We're talking on an online chat, so they can always reach us. We can always talk to them, and they typically will give us updates. This expires at 8:15, so we have another few minutes on it. But as you mentioned, definitely that southern storm. If there's one on the map that they're going to extend, it's for sure that southern storm. We're watching these storms out in Seneca County as well. I know they don't look as aesthetically impressive as the stuff that's out in Huron County because they're really far away from the radar. But just to give you an idea that we do have our eyes on multiple storms in our area. We also now have a new flood advisory in effect for Erie, Huron, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Seneca County. So these storms have been producing not just hail, not just damaging winds, but also torrential rain. And that's going to cause some localized ponding. So please be careful if you're in any of those areas. Erie, Huron, Ottawa, Sandusky, Seneca counties, definitely some standing water on the roadways.
Yeah, good information there. These storms are producing a ton of rain in addition. Ton of rain, lightning, obviously damaging winds, potential tornado, or in this case, tornado, because we have ground confirmation of this. And based on that radar signature, we certainly are dealing with something. If it's not on the ground, it is very close to the ground level. And again, a lot of folks may say, hey, I'm here in Cleveland, nothing's going on. It's light rain. Why are you guys on television? Well, again, remember with a tornado warning, we cover a pretty large area here in northern Ohio, and it is our top priority. And remember, when potentially severe weather comes to your area, you'd want us to be on for you as well. So that's what we do. And again, it's our top priority here to always be there for you and to kind of guide you through the entirety of the storm. So there's the latest on this particular storm. We do have a tornado warning until 8:30 for this cell just now off to the north and west of New London. And you can see next up likely will be northern Richland and northern Ashland counties with this storm. And I would suspect that the Weather Service will likely continue this tornado warning perhaps even until 9 o'clock tonight. So we've been on the air for now roughly almost nearing an hour and a half straight, and just kind of keeping you posted as we follow what has been a consistent and constant tornado warning. First it was one cell. That cell now is to the north, and then this second cell popped up with very strong rotation near ground level. And we also have a severe thunderstorm warning, which is new. Ashland, Erie, Huron, and Medina County, severe thunderstorm warning until 9 p.m. And we've got the tag on it. Not all severe thunderstorm warnings have the tornado possible tag. This one does. So really, it's going to be quite a next hour or so until all these storms pull through. And again, remember, we have not seen much in the way of severe weather as of yet. Sam, let's get real tight here. Considerable damage possible. Absolutely. Let's get real tight south of Norwalk and get into some street level mapping, because we have the ability to do that. And you can really see, boy, oh boy, this storm is wrapped up. This is State Route 162. So we're at 162. That is Edwards Road, 162 here. Again, pretty rural area here as you head through portions of south central Huron County, almost now into Ashland and Richland County. This is Edwards Road, Delta Road there. This is Greenwich Milan Township Road. So we do have the roads. If I say your road's name, it's a good idea to take shelter. Fairfield Angling Road. If I mispronounce any of these, I've probably never seen them before. Town Line Road 12. There's Edwards again. Boughtonville Road down to Edwards Road as well. And that's kind of where we've got that stronger rotation here. We're really zooming in. And there it is right there, south of Norwalk. The towns there are New London and Willard. If you're between New London and Willard, now's the time. Get to the lowest point of your home and put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. Don't get near the windows. Don't go outside and try to take pictures and video and send it to people. Just wait. Wait till the storm is past. It is not worth it. Where should you seek shelter? It's a question that I get a lot. Let's take a look here. There's someone's home. You want to get down to the lowest point of your home, away from the windows, because things can fly around. There's a look at inside the home. Interior hallways are great. Bathrooms, a bathtub, cover your head as well. That would be a good spot, away from windows. Again, something we always do talk about. Remember, online, our First Alert Weather Survival Guide. Even if you can't do it tonight, maybe do it tomorrow. Sit the kids around the computer and say, hey, let's recap what to do with a tornado warning. There's no need to be afraid. You just got to follow your steps and keep safe. All right, Jeff Slauson has more. Jeff, we've got some hail, and again, I wish they'd put a quarter there. We don't know how big the person's hand is, but those look big.
So this is what we call a tease in the business there, Jason. So this one, there's actually going to be, there we go. So yeah, we're looking at inch hail, 1 inch hail in some areas, and I think that the one below it is actually an inch and a half, this one right here.
Go back to the picture with those two balls. Oh my
This one
goodness.
here? Yes, I mean, we don't know if that's an adult person's hand or if that is a child's hand. It does appear to be an adult.
That's almost tennis ball.
I mean,
I don't remember the last time we had stuff that big here.
So looking at that compared to it, right? So that is more than an inch in diameter there on that hail. You're saying we shouldn't be expecting any more of that, or some areas?
No, I would say it's still possible. I'd be surprised if we get any more golf ball size hail, but I wouldn't discount it.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures here are just pretty insane. If you really look at some of these, I got one more to show you here, and then I'm just going to recap some of the stuff we've seen. But what's funny is, you see the photos with these, but look at the ground. I mean, it's littered with them. It's not like these people are handpicking just the largest ones. All of these are pretty large size hail.
That does tons of damage.
And it's just insane what we've been seeing here. For those that have maybe jumped on a little late, those that maybe come on a little bit early, I want to re-rack some of the things that we've covered while we've been on. The number one thing that we've been trying to focus on, at least here at the digital side of this, focuses on the amount of customers that are without power. It was 17,000 about 2 minutes ago. We're now at 21,000. We've been talking about that Point Place. I believe that's the area, right, Sarah? If you're in the booth, you can hear me. Yeah, Point Place. Okay, so that is in Lucas County. They've seen, so 5% of customers there are seeing power outages right now. 9,000 customers are without power. And again, for those that are unfamiliar with how we gauge customers, that's households. So that's not exactly people. That is households. 9,000 households in Lucas County, about 5% of all households are without power. But the numbers get pretty aggressive when we go to some other counties here. Ottawa, 12% of customers. And Sandusky just saw the largest increase in power outages. If you are in Sandusky right now, 35% of people are without power. That is a very, very high number when we consider just how fast these outages start to come about. We're going to go through some of the videos that we've seen where you can see how these outages are actually happening. Watch the left-hand side of your screen on this one if I can pull up the exact spot here. Sorry, just kind of have a bunch of there. Okay, so look at the roof over here on the left-hand side. That taken off and taken across the roadway there. Let's go to the next one here as we continue to see some of that debris making its way across one of these major roadways, again in Point Park, where we've seen a lot of this video that, again, has the most outages right now. That area has the most outages in the state at the moment. We've already seen this one. Let's go to this one right here. Okay, yep. So this surveys that damage, and this is why we have said basically for the past 25, 30 minutes or so, you need to let first responders do what they do because of this. This is a very dangerous scene. There's a person right underneath this pole right here.
Wow.
That pole is incredibly unsteady right now, and that person is standing under it taking photos of the damage. I understand the damage looks cool. I understand it looks very interesting, and it is something that is very compelling, but the person who took this video, they shouldn't have been doing it. Look at this area. That is absolutely in disarray. And again, there's a person standing underneath that pole. These are things you need to avoid. One thing as well, I remember from my days reporting in Buffalo, New York, where we saw some pretty heavy flooding. If you see some flooding that is starting to form there and you see some down power lines, I know it seems incredibly obvious. You need to avoid it. Get out of the way. Let the first responders do their work. I'm going to pull this up as we've kind of showed multiple times here again. Toledo Fire and Rescue are asking anybody that's in that Point Place area, avoid it, stay inside, let the first responders do their work, because as you can see, I mean, these roads, they're covered. No one can access them, and imagine if you're an emergency vehicle right now, Jason.
Yeah, awful stuff out there. And again, we say a prayer for everyone that was potentially impacted, that everyone is safe. Property can be replaced. Obviously, lives can't. So that's a goal, obviously, is protect lives, property, and to keep everyone safe. That's why we're on the air right now with this tornado warning in Huron County until 8:30. We've been on the air now for more than an hour and a half. You can see New London, Willard, Plymouth. A lot of this gray you see right here, that's likely still some large hail. Probably not as big as what Jeff just showed us with that, most likely golf ball size hail, easily, perhaps even a little larger than that. I believe the hail core is still there, but we're talking more potentially quarter size, could even see $half size as well, but likely not much larger than that. But again, this storm has produced golf ball size hail. That's a look at our hail tracker right there. There's New London. And again, wherever you see that gray indicates where we do have that hail at the moment. We still have perhaps a little bit of an inflow right there, Sam, just south and west of New London as this storm continues to slide off to the south and to the east. So this is where we likely will have, absolutely have our tornado. There you see the town of Fitchville. There's New London right there, kind of in between Fitchville and North Fairfield. This is 250. This is Route 13. These are big roads in this kind of area in this part of the state. There's 61. If we've got the tornado, there's the red. There is the green. And watch it come in from the north and west. There is the spin, no doubt about it. And again, if this tornado isn't necessarily touching the ground, it is causing a lot of damage. It's lowering in the clouds and likely very strong wind gusts at or near ground level. Whether or not it's a consistent tornado, we won't know until the Weather Service goes out there and detects how long this path is. But there's a very good chance that if it doesn't stay on the ground the entire time, it will from time to time pop back down on the ground and perhaps even back up into the cloud. There's Fitchville, there's Greenwich right there, there's Route 13, 224 as well. And I'll tell you what, Sam, this is heading into Ashland County, right? And I think the Weather Service is probably right now thinking about extending this tornado warning into Ashland County here in a moment. In fact, I would even say if you live in northwestern Ashland, northern Richland County, right, I would get to your safe spot and away from windows as you can, right?
That's probably coming in a few minutes. Like you said, they haven't put out any new information just yet, but the way that looks on radar, if anything, it's just tightening up. The last couple of scans still looks very impressive from a meteorological standpoint. So those of you in Ashland County, especially northern Ashland County, Erica has a word over here.
Yeah, it looks like when we're sampling some other products within this storm, we may have just had another debris drop, which is a signature to us that we have some type of non-meteorological objects being lofted up into this storm. It's just to the south west of the New London area. It just popped up within the last couple of scans. And we were seeing there's a certain signature that sometimes radars will show, especially right before a storm starts to cycle, and it will re-strengthen once again. And I think we're really starting to see that now. So folks that live between New London, and I hope I'm saying this right, Greenwich, please make sure you are within your safe place, because you likely are dealing potentially with a tornado there at that point.
Great information there, Erica. And again, Erica is a trained storm chaser. She's done this over time. And when you're in a vehicle analyzing a storm live, you really get a different appreciation for what it looks like on the radar and what it looks like out in the field as well. And she did a good job looking at that debris signature there south and west of the New London area, right along Route 13 there. You see south and also east of North Fairfield. Right there is where we had that debris signature, and that's exactly where likely this tornado is. There's Route 13 right there, and can't emphasize this enough. Now's the time to get to your safe spot. If you haven't already done so, you should have here Huron County for another 9 minutes, and then I would suspect Richland and Ashland may follow suit, because this is a very strong storm and a very strong tornado warning signature. You can see there's New London heading into the Ashland area. Tornado warning right now, at least for the time being, for another 9 minutes. This is for Huron County until 8:30. That's the only tornado warning we have, and the reason it's for this particular cell outside of the New London area that is heading towards Ashland County, and there it is. As I would expect this to happen, and notice it is for Ashland, Huron, and Richland County for until 8:45. So the reason this was issued, clear, as you've been watching the last few moments, this storm is likely producing a tornado. We've had confirmation of this storm, at least this clump of storms producing a tornado. The video of tornadoes, we've had pictures of tornadoes, and a lot of damage from this particular cell. That's why it's a 19 First Alert Weather Day, and that's exactly why we're on the air right now. We don't want to be. We know not everyone's affected, but again, when a tornado warning is issued, especially when it's in the heart of our viewing area, and when we've got confirmation that this indeed did produce a tornado at some point, we will definitely be on the air because of that. So let's recap here. This was just reissued, or issued, I should say, from the Weather Service for Ashland County, Huron County, and Richland County until 8:45. Now, to be clear, the Huron County storm is almost over. We are talking about the far southern edge of Huron County and the northeastern part of Richland County and the northern part, actually much of Ashland County. Unfortunately, I think this thing has the potential to cut right through Ashland County as it moves towards I-71. Sam, let's go ahead and track. Thank you very much. As this storm, do we know the momentum or the storm motion on this?
Still southeast at 40.
Southeast at 40. So Bailey Lakes in the next 14 minutes on into Ashland. So right now, if you've been watching from Ashland going, well, the storm's still pretty far away, it's not. It's about 20 minutes. It'll be right there. So now's the time to say, all right, well, we've been watching or listening. Now let's get to our safe spot. And that would be a good time to do so. Vermilion Township, not the town of Vermilion on the lake shore. Folks are always confused when we do this, but this is a township in Ashland County, 856. Spring, 901, and okay, Worcester's on the map here. It's still a little too early to start warning Worcester, but you know, if you're in western Wayne County, keep an eye to the sky. Certainly if you're west of Worcester, you might want to at least keep posted on what we're doing. All right, Tiffany Tucker has been at the anchor desk all evening long, and Tiffany, you've been reaching out to local communities to find out what kind of impact they're getting from a damage perspective. What have you found?
I just got off the phone with New London Police. Erica had mentioned that area was going to be hit pretty hard, within the next few minutes or so. So I actually spoke with an officer who is on the road right now. She told me that's a town of about 3,000 people. There is no power that she sees on the road. She says the hail is coming down very heavily right now. In fact, she said she's going to stay out on the road as long as she can in case people need her. Didn't see a lot of cars at this point, but that officer told me that there is no power that she sees in her town, and that when it's safe, she's going to head back to the police department. Right now, she does have communication with her dispatchers, but she's concerned that could soon, dissipate, if you will. But again, the New London Police Department, just spoke with the officer. She sees no power in the area there, and she's going to stay out as long as she can safely, so that if there are other people out on the road and they end up dealing with a situation that is unsafe, she can help them. Otherwise, she is going to head back to the police department because the weather is changing. Was the word that she wanted to use.
Yeah, and you got to, you know, obviously our thanks always goes out to law enforcement doing what they do every day. But on a night like tonight, where you're getting all these calls, you're getting damage reports, you're trying to keep roads clear, people safe, power outages, a lot of challenges out there. So we thank, obviously, those folks for what they're doing tonight and what they, of course, do each and every day. We have a tornado warning, Ashland, Huron, Richland, until 8:45, another 20 minutes on that. I think we'll be on the air a little longer than that because this thing is not showing any signs of slowing down or weakening, at least not weakening substantially. And Jeff, this storm and not only this cell, but this entire complex of storms has really caused a lot of issues as far as our power outages go, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me when Tiffany was explaining there how, yeah, she's seeing a lot of outages. I actually said, holy cow, because this just jumped up to 37,000 customers that are without power. Bear with me, this is not the most user-friendly application for what we typically use. However, what I want to show really quickly here, as I zoom in there, is the areas that are typically seeing all of this. All right, that's better, okay. So what we typically look at here are clusters. Now, the clusters that you will notice and the clusters that you will see are those that have anything more than about 3. That is communities that are seeing these outages. What we've noticed is we started with the outages in mass around Toledo. That slowly started to make its way a little bit east as we headed away from Toledo towards Sandusky. But look at the pockets. It takes a significant outage just for one of these to show a single one on there, okay, just for clarity. What we're seeing is a pretty clear path of where a strong majority of these outages are. And the percentages that we're seeing of these areas that are without power is pretty insane. We've been showing these percentages for those that have been watching along with us here. I'm going to make sure I update just to make sure we have the latest information here. All right, perfect there. Okay, so what we are seeing right now as far as the percentage of people that are without power, and Tiffany mentioned how that first responder was trying to go somewhere and they couldn't. Seneca, Ohio right now. If you are there, 35% of people are without power. Let's move up a little bit here, okay? I apologize. Again, this is not the most user-friendly. Okay. Cuyahoga County right now, we are starting to see the outages pop up here. 2% are without power. 36% in Sandusky are without power. But look at the amount that we have noticed here. We are now in double-digit, essentially, counties that have thousands of power outages. I'm so sorry you cannot see that. Let's zoom in a little bit more. All right, that's a lot better. So, Cuyahoga, 9,500 outages. Lucas, 9,000 outages. Geauga, 5,000. Ottawa, 4,000. Sandusky, 4,000. 3,000 outages in Huron. Erie, 1,000. And about 400 outages in Seneca. While some of these I've mentioned before are more rural counties, they're still seeing percentages of 10, 12, 13. That was an update there. Let's see if that changed anything. 10, 12, 13, even 30% of people without power. That is a massive deal. And as we've said, for these first responders who need to try and help people out, maybe get to areas where a tree has fallen, hit somebody, things like that. I mean, that is difficult. That is incredibly difficult to get in and out of these areas. And especially when we're seeing about 35% outages now in multiple counties. Yeah, that's a massive problem. Another reason why you need to make sure you're staying off the roads and staying safe, because this is just going to get worse and worse. And the expected time for service isn't available. So we're going to keep an eye on that, but right now we have no idea when your power is coming back on, unfortunately.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Good work there, keeping us posted on what is now significant power outages, unfortunately, for tonight because of strong winds with any of these thunderstorms, and as well as, obviously, the potential for what is now likely a tornado that's been on and off the ground for quite some time. So we do have that warning for Ashland, Huron, and Richland until 8:45. This is the town of Bailey Lakes. Large hail here. In fact, if we could go back to our reflectivity, you can probably likely see all this area there. Wherever you see that purplish color, that indicates very large hail. And again, could be approaching, obviously, easily quarter size or $half size. Could also be approaching that golf ball size hail, because as we've shown you, we've had evidence of that with this storm. So there's 511, there's Bailey Lakes, there's 250. Big hail right here east of US 250. couple of areas here where this hail is again falling out of this storm. There's 60, and in many cases, hail can be really, really rough. Certainly causes damage to cars. It can blow through glass, skylights, of course, and that is coming down there in portions of now Ashland County. But the big deal here is the tornado warning, Ashland, Huron, and Richland until 8:45. And really, Sam, I think that Huron is almost out of the woods at this point, right?
Yeah, they are. And this polygon should update hopefully momentarily. A little lag there. But if you're in Huron, you've been watching us with your volume turned up, probably safe to head out of your safe spot. Our main concern right now is heading into northern Ashland County and portions of northeastern Richland County as well.
Yeah, good information there. And again, this warning goes until 8:45, another 15 minutes. And if we could track where the rotation currently is and see how we're looking as far as in the town of Ashland itself, looking at this, realize it is moving a little bit farther away from our Cleveland radar, but it does look like, Sam and Erica, if you can hear me as well, if you're with us, it does look like there may be a little bit, I don't want to necessarily at all sound the all clear, but there may be just a little bit of weakening on this rotation.
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely pretty broad rotation at the moment. If we can bring up here weather 1 for just a moment. I want to turn on the hail scope here because this is some pretty significant hail, and I don't apologize for why that.
It's a legend. That's fine.
Yep, the word is there.
It lets you know. I mean, it shows you the strength of potentially what you're seeing there.
Yeah.
And there's that hail west of Savannah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and granted, this is scoping about 1.7 inch in diameter hail. Likely, if this is the hail that is falling, it will probably be a little bit larger than that, potentially. Because we've seen it underdoing it a little bit throughout the day today. So I don't want to completely underplay it because that could be some pretty large hail that's finally tapping into this storm. But definitely something to be mindful of if you live west of the Bailey Lakes area. Even if you live in Bailey Lakes, you're likely still waiting for the hail core to really pass through your area at this point.
Yeah, and you know, this storm has shown that it can produce very large hail. We've had evidence of that, potentially near golf ball size. So I can't discount the possibility that that is happening right now. Now there's a little bit of a better as it updated there. What happens is the hail, it's suspended in the air, and then eventually it gets too heavy and it falls. So the hail falls out of the storm, and then it takes some time to kind of get back going again. So there's Bailey Lakes, there's Savannah. Notice our hail is the hail signature there, Erica, is a little bit less than what we just saw. But I still think easily we're talking $half size hail, bigger than marble, bigger than quarter size. That is what we call severe hail happening right now in and around the Savannah area. Also, by the way, we've got that big green polygon. That's from all this rain. We've had a lot of rain, and that has caused a flood advisory there for the counties and the areas in green: Norwalk, Sandusky, Fremont. Also, as you head down to the also Ottawa County there, you saw the counties that popped up on the screen right there for that area flood advisory for some high water issues. So be careful there as the sun is setting, and you know, we wouldn't want anyone to get into trouble trying to pass an area that is already flooded out. So to recap here, we have another 12 minutes at least on this tornado warning as it makes its way out of Huron County and into Ashland County and really northeastern, far northeastern Richland County, much unfortunately of Ashland County here. There is the town of Ashland. There's Interstate 71 right now. We would love for this storm to weaken just a little bit more. Now, obviously, it's producing hail, but as far as the rotation signature, it's kind of a little more spread out now. We would love to continue to see this thing weaken rotation-wise before it hits the town of Ashland, because that would not be a good thing when we talk about what this storm has already produced. All right, Jeff Slauson is at our big board. And Jeff, you've been monitoring the social media channels, the power outages, kind of have your hand on the pulse there of what's going on. That's Cedar Point, and that is a lightning strike, right?
Yeah, this is from about an hour ago, maybe a little bit less here. We were watching the live stream from Cedar Point. You can access it online for quite some time. The problem is that it started to go in and out at some point, and we saw the rides. I remember, Jason, you mentioning you believe that we saw the rides stopping at some point, which is a good idea idea, and especially when you see this. Now, this is going to be 2 frames here, so this is when we're seeing that lightning strike hit one of the roller coasters. Not even going to guess which one it is because I don't know. And then the next one, yeah, that's the result of that strike there. So a pretty intense before and after here. So regardless of the fact if you're, whether you're seeing these tornadoes or not, or seeing the hail or not, if you're seeing the thunderstorms, you can see just how problematic and how big that can be. I mean, that's a pretty intense image right there. And then a couple of more things here. We've shown this one here, but this is the Anchor Inn on Point Place, which is an area that has been completely taken over by some of these tornadoes. You're just seeing the damage from the roof level. The problem is going to start to be what we see on the ground here. So that is a first responder looking on, trying to help provide some assistance, but what's on the ground is going to start to become more problematic. So just because this is past your area, if your area is no longer under that alert, under that warning, seeing the problems, that doesn't mean that you're out of the woods yet. The difficulties can still exist. The dangers can still exist, especially if we're seeing some down power lines, especially if we're seeing limbs that have gotten a little bit loose, trees that have become loose, anything that's been dislodged. Yeah, the danger is still out there and still existing. And I just want to show that photo again because I think this is pretty incredible here, Jason. The look at Cedar Point. This again was from about an hour ago, but this is right as the lightning is striking. This comes from their live footage, and then that's right after. Yeah, so some pretty intense thunder.
Yeah, and remember, yeah, Jeff, thank you for that. Good information there. And remember, Cedar Point was under a tornado warning at one point, but that rotation, that at least the most dangerous part of the storm, passed just south of Sandusky, just south of Cedar Point. And now that storm kind of split a little bit, and we had another rotation just to the south. So there is Ashland right now, and certainly if you're in Ashland, you're likely seeing a lowering of the clouds. You're under a tornado warning. If you're in Ashland, even certainly on the northern side where their hail is around the Bailey Lakes area, it is time to get to your safe spot. Time has really run out here for portions of Ashland County. Tornado warning until 8:45. Again, this is for one part of our area. We've got more severe thunderstorms just to our north as well, and also off to the north and to the east, or even portions of Medina County too. So this is about to cross over I-71. Hail, I think, has taken over as the greatest threat. We're not seeing as much of that real, as far as the signature for something as a tornado. There's potential that we are losing that just a little bit. We still do have the rotation, though, in and around the Bailey Lakes area, just really to the north of Bailey Lakes, this until 8:45. For just those 2 counties, as I mentioned, Huron is no longer under that tornado warning. It's just for Ashland and for Richland. And Tiffany has been on the phone and working the phones with law enforcement as well. Tiffany, what do you have for us?
All right, so instead of trying to, every time you mention that there's a warning, I've been trying to call those departments. I actually called a restaurant, the South Street Grill. They told me they're experiencing a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder. In fact, they have decided, because they've been watching us, they've decided to close the restaurant early because they just don't feel like it's safe enough to let customers in and out. So the customers who are there right now are staying put until this moves through. But as of right now, that was 5 minutes ago that I spoke with her, she said there's heavy lightning, heavy thunder, because you said that weather is going to start moving through the Bailey Lakes, Ashland area, correct?
Yeah, that's right, Ashland County. And really, heavy rain and thunder is the least of folks' worries down there with the tornado warning in effect, with evidence of golf ball size hail. In fact, the Weather Service says ping pong potential, which is, also really big. And we've seen pictures from folks. We don't know how big their hands are, but if they're at all decent size, easily golf ball size hail with this storm at 8:45, Ashland and Richland. Sam, what are we thinking? And Erica, what are we thinking as far as is this tornado warning potentially, we see enough for this to be extended? I'm not sure I do. What do you guys think?
I feel like it's a tough call right now. We're looking at some of the cloud tops because that'll give us kind of a good diagnosis of how cold the air is in this thunderstorm, whether or not it's still creating that upward motion within it. And we saw within the past, let me see. This would have been within the past even 10, 15 minutes or so, that cloud tops were going from 45,000 feet down to 38,000 feet, which for us, it's a good indication that we may start to see this storm collapsing. We'll have to wait a few more radar scans, but right now, looking better in terms of news for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to still obviously stay on the air here because this warning does go for another 6 minutes. We've been on the air for nearly 2 hours. Here this evening. I know we have information on what Prime shows that we did have to cover up where they'll be seen, I believe, later tonight. But again, tornado warnings, severe weather, when it's something like this, when we have ground confirmation, we will be on the air to make sure you have all the information so you and your family, property, at least you and your family can stay safe. Property, there's not much you can do with that, but at least you can take care of yourself and of your family. That's clearly what we want to do. And again, remember, we do have an online severe weather guide on our 19 First Alert. Severe weather guide is on our website. We break down individual situations, what to do if you're in your car, what to do in your house, just kind of a refresher. We have not had much severe weather this year, so this kind of comes pretty quick, and we jump right in with both feet, no doubt, with several tornado warnings. So still this warning for Ashland and Richland until 8:45. The worst of the storm passing through Bailey Lakes now. We still do have some rotation behind it. Ashland about to get slammed with not only heavy rain, but likely also with large hail potential there as well. We've had a lot of power outages. Every time we go over to Jeff, we add a few thousand. Jeff, what can you tell us now from the big board?
Yes, so a couple of things here. Let's just first head on. You were speaking about Ashland County. The Emergency Management Agency just released a statement. Everybody please stay alert and take shelter. Violent weather has been reported. Stay inside, stay safe. Those two work together. If you stay inside, you will stay safe. Stay out of their way, stay out of your own way, stay out of the weather's way. It's a pretty obvious thing, I understand, but for a lot of people, I get you want to take photos, but just be careful, be safe. All right, this video coming to us courtesy of a viewer here. Want to show you, this was in Sandusky, there we go, okay, at a Cracker Barrel in Sandusky. Anybody that was at the restaurant, they all gathered in the kitchen. So take a look at this here.
Very smart.
All gathering in the kitchen. Yeah, Jason, this would be a good area because it's kind of central, I'm guessing, to if it's
away from windows, inner place. Even if they don't have a basement, they're at least in the middle of the home, or I should say the building.
So you're seeing that there. Yeah, this is a smart place to be then, as Jason was saying. So gathering and bringing all these people that were at this Cracker Barrel into the kitchen to try and stay safe here. Now, Jason mentioned those power outages. We're finally getting answers as to exactly how long these outages could be lasting. Again, I told you that it's kind of difficult for the way that we operate this big board here. It's tough for you to be able to read this. So what I'm going to show you is we're going to start in Lucas County here, and then we're going to work our way forward. Essentially what I've been seeing, I've checked basically hundreds of outages at this point. If you are having an outage right now, the earliest you could potentially see your electricity return is about 9:30. What we're seeing essentially across the board right now for large communities is about 11:30, 10 o'clock is the basic that we're seeing. Now, you can see a couple of 9:30s, but those are areas that are seeing fewer than 5 customers dealing with the problem. So if you're in an area that has a large majority of those outages, and we've been saying that there are places like Sandusky, for instance, has had about 35% of customers at outages. That's an update. We'll check that in a second. If you're dealing with one of those areas that has a majority outage, like for instance, let's go to Seneca, Ohio, although that's kind of smaller. Let's go to here. Perfect. Let's go to Sandusky, Ohio, okay? If you're in Sandusky, Ohio right now, take note. If you're in one of those areas that has more outages, 11:30, 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11:30, these are areas, because there are more people, you will see the electricity come on later and later. These can also change. This is the absolute earliest that we will see these outages return. So if you are in one of those spots, if you are one of those customers that's affected, it's not a certainty that we will be able to get that on as soon as possible. And the last thing I want to show here before I send it back to you, Jason, the spread that we're seeing of outages is far, far more wide than what we were experiencing even just 10 or 15 minutes ago. I mean, this is really starting to spread out to where more areas of Ohio are seeing these outages.
All right, Jeff, good information there. Again, on top of everything tonight from a digital and power outage standpoint. All right, we are now only about a minute and a half away from this current tornado warning to expire for Ashland and Richland County. Our plan is to get off the air and send you back to your regular programming. However, we'll be watching this storm very closely. If we see anything that really catches our eye, where perhaps tornadoes being produced or big hail or big winds, we will get back on the air for this. We're gonna regroup and make that call. But once this tornado warning does expire, we will send you back to programming. One additional note, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Wayne County because of hail, because of winds until 10 p.m. So basically what the Weather Service is kind of deciding is they're going to sound the all clear on the tornado warning, at least for the time being. There have been many times where this tornado warning expires and then it's reissued in moments. So that could happen. But right now the thinking is it will not happen, but we'll be ready for it in case it does. This warning for Wayne is until 10. That's because of this storm right here. We still have this inflow right there north of Ashland, so we're going to be watching it very, very closely as this warning now is about to expire. Tiffany, you have a programming note because of the severe weather, we covered up some programming.
Yeah, obviously we had to cut in because of emergency reasons, but Jeopardy will air at 1:37 a.m. after the Late Show with James Corden. 1:37 a.m. for all those Jeopardy show watchers after the Late Show with James Corden. And of course, we will continue to have more information on the weather, the outages on CW43 at 10 o'clock, but you're just waiting for
Yep,
get
it
that warning.
is officially expired.
Okay, it's officially
So yeah,
expired.
it is officially expired. As you see now, no tornado warning in effect. However, I do want to point out, certainly a nasty storm just off to the north and east of Ashland. There is no tornado warning, but as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and send you back to programming. However, should the need arise to get back on the air because of a tornado warning or perhaps a very damaging straight line wind event, we will do that. But right now, I just want to let the control room know we will go back to programming here as there are no more. Sam, are you good with that? Am I not missing anything here? No additional tornado warnings currently occurring, correct?
Yeah, we're in the clear as far as tornado warnings, just the severe thunderstorm warnings, but for sure take those seriously as well. And stay tuned to the 19 First Alert weather app too, because it will always alert you in the event of severe weather.
Yeah, great point there. We tell you to download it all the time. There's a reason for it. If you had it, and you were in this storm's path, you got a lot of alerts. Again, the issue here is the hail still in this storm north and east of Ashland, potentially dropping out just a little bit, as well as very strong winds. So no tornado warnings at this point. We're going to be watching this very closely. We will hop right back on the air if this storm starts to spin up a little bit more. That can happen. I've seen it happen many, many times here in northern Ohio. For Tiffany, Jeff, Erica, Sam, the entire crew here at 19 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas. Now back you out to your regular programming.
"19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.